So what's it like to actually see Christ? I'm telling you that I saw him. And when I saw in book of Revelation, I think it was chapter 21, verse 8, where it says that cowards will never inherit the kingdom of God. I then realized I had to make a decision. What happened is last year, I was in my backyard at night, and under my breath, I said, Lord, how could you ever love a worthless sinner like me? And when I said that, I was looking up at the sky because there was the moon there, and it wasn't really big, but it was, kind of on the small side, and it was cloudy. Within seconds, the moon got brighter and bigger, and the clouds around it got brighter. And it was the best I could describe it is an electronic image of Christ himself, just the right side of his face, looking north while I'm looking west at him. It lasted for about 10 seconds. And I am trying to process this to the point where I'm trying not to believe what I saw. Now, I was afraid, well, what would people think of me if I made such an admission? So I kept it under, I just decided not to talk about it. I mean, I thought, okay, I'm being a coward. I'm being ashamed. And Jesus says, if you're ashamed of me, then my Father and I will be ashamed of you on that day. And then I thought, a worthless sinner like me was given one of the truly most glorious things imaginable, an actual image of Christ himself. Now, when I talked to my priest about it, he said that there was a lady in our confirmation class who saw the exact same image, and I don't even know who this person is. I don't, obviously the priest, but not the person who saw it. And it looked like an electronic image if you were to cast it on a wall. And it looked like what you would see if you held up a quarter and you just saw a profile. That's all I could see, just the right side of his face. There was no expression, there was no talking. I can tell you that nearly every image I've seen of Christ on the internet, some are so far off the mark, it's unbelievable. Okay. And I'm going to show you the closest picture I can of what Christ actually looked like. And then I'm going to show you where it doesn't match up. All right, this is the closest image I could find, but it still suffers some flaws. First of all, his shoulders were much broader and they were rounder and they extended farther out. He didn't look muscular, but he looked powerful. He looked strong. There was no halo over his head. His hair was not this long, and it was a little bit darker than this color, and it stopped right before it hit his shoulders. I could see that he was wearing a white garment, and it was from the upper part of his shoulders coming up, and it stopped right about like this, but it was white. It did not have these other colors. Secondly, his eye was blue, and it was a much bluer color than this. His beard was more fuller than this, and it was just a little bit longer than this, but it came farther out onto his cheeks. His face was wider than this, and his nose was wider than this. Okay. And he had just a little bit of a broader shape to his eye, and the eyebrows were not really, they didn't really look like this. They were a little bit further up on his head. And like I said, I can only see the side view. And for a while, I was worried about, why isn't he looking at me? Is he ashamed of me? And then through a lot of introspection, I came to realize that he wasn't ashamed of me. He's making a calling. He's issuing his calling. Pick up your cross and follow me. But this is the closest image of everything I've seen on the internet as to what he really looks like. Now, what does this suggest to you? You could simply say, I don't believe you. You're just some liar looking for clout or attention. And unfortunately, there are a lot of people out there that do that. But you want to know something? I don't care what people think anymore because of Revelation 21:8 about cowards not inheriting the kingdom of God. Imagine standing in front of him and he said, I gave you an image. I heard you. I reached out to you. Like Christ says, I'm on the door. I'm at the door and I'm knocking, but you must come in. And what did you do about it, Pat? You didn't tell hardly anyone. You didn't really let them know that I'm real and that I'm alive and that I hear and see everything and that I heard your call. And you didn't so much as even make people aware of the fact that I am real to help me spread the message of the good news of Christ. Now, what am I supposed to say to that? Do I side with a master of the universe that created everything? Or do I worry about my own personal feelings? Easy call. I really hope you believe me. I can tell you how I know that when people say they've seen Christ, how they're not lying about it. And I can also pretty much tell who is lying about it. And there are certain things, and I don't want to give them away too much because then I will lose they'll just copy it. But I will tell you, one of the biggest things is when you have actually heard his call, your heart is going to change. It has to change. And the profound effect it has had on me personally, to go from someone who has mocked Christ, mocked Catholic Church, mocked all of it, to now thinking about him, praying, doing all this stuff every day, not to brag, because if you brag, you get no credit, but out of the feeling of love that he is there, he's real, and I have to tell you about it. Anyway, this is my testimony. It's 100% real. I saw it. I saw him. No, it wasn't some hallucination. It wasn't from some crazy night of drinking alcohol, which I don't do anyway. It wasn't drugs. I don't take drugs. I'm trained to be a very analytical, skeptical person. That's what I do. And I'm telling you right now, what I saw, it was him. He wanted me to see him. He heard me, and he hears everything. I'll tell you one more thing. If you look at the Gospel of Thomas, you'll come across something that's quite interesting. It has sayings and statements by Christ that aren't obviously in the Bible because it wasn't added to the Bible by the Catholic Church. And if you look at some of the statements that Christ makes, they're all based on energy and physics. I think that Christ not only obviously came to earth in human form to help fulfill his mission, but I also think he's raw energy. And that raw energy, as you know from taking physics or engineering classes, is neither created nor destroyed. It just changes form. And your soul is the energy. Your body is the dust. So you lose your physical body, you get your spiritual body. I want you to pay very close attention here. When Jesus came to earth and then described the law of Moses and how he said he did not come to abolish it, but to fulfill it, he made the standards even higher. So there was, adultery, which could be now by lust in the heart, because he looks at your heart. That's how persons such as Paul can go to become a saint, even though Paul's a killer, because his heart changed. Jesus can forgive anyone, but yeah, he obviously has that power, but he looks into your heart. Do you love people? Are you kind towards them? Do you care for them? Like he said in the Bible, those that you did to the least of them, you did to me. And so he has a very high standard of conduct. And without him, nothing is possible. So please follow very closely with the stuff in the Bible. Don't listen to other people tell you what you need to do for salvation, including me. But I will tell you, it's all there in black and white. But you got to understand that he is real. I've seen it. And I've never been the same since, in a good way. Hope you enjoyed the video.